In this video, we are going to be learning how to sew this dress and finish it neatly. As you can see, this dress was neatly finished to give the ready-made kind of vibe. You can check out the details of this dress. It is neatly sewn. If you're interested to know the interesting sewing hacks and the interesting sewing techniques I use, kindly continue watching. If you got value at the end of this video, I'll really appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up. Check the description box for the link to the cutting aspect of this video. For this dress, I got 1 yard of chiffon and 1 yard of a stretchy material lycra. I will advise you take out 18 inches for the sleeve before you start tempering with the chiffon.
To cut out the half bodice pattern, if you can remember this pattern, I simply went ahead to use my masking tape to hold it down. And please take note that I did not overlap it. I just made sure that the both lines meet. That's all I did. So I'll just place it on my lycra material and I'm going to be cutting this pattern.
So I went ahead to cut it on my fabric, adding 0.5 inches all around. I actually cut 4 pieces of this, 2 for the main fabric and 2 as lining.
For these 2 pieces at the top, I actually cut 2 pieces each for each of them and I added a sewing allowance on the indicated part as shown.
Now coming to the chiffon, I simply had to place my paper on another pattern and redraft it, adding 0.5 inches all around before cutting on my chiffon. This is because a chiffon material is very light and adding 0.5 inches to the chiffon while cutting might make it shift. So this is all the patterns for the front side. For the back part, I actually added 0.5 inches all around except for the back center that I cut on fold.
I actually cut 2 pieces for this, one as lining and one as the fabric. Now for the top part here, I added 0.5 all around, do not add to the armhole. So I actually cut 2 pieces of this for the chiffon and 2 pieces of this for the other one. I'll be using one as lining and one as the main fabric. So I will just add my paper stay to the corners of this one.
So starting with the front piece, this is the half length as you can see. And as you can see, I've ironed my paper stay. You can see the pattern I use in ironing my paper stay. This is just to get my fabric relaxed at the tip when I join it and still keep the stretchy effect of my material. So I'm going to pick one of it. I'm going to be sewing my tiny elastic for the button hold on one.
I'm going to divide this part by the number of buttons I'm using.
The spacing between the buttons should be at least 1 inch and a maximum of 2 inches.
I have just gone ahead to mark out where my buttons will be. I'm actually using this elastic band. It stretches like this. This one I actually cut 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to place this in here. I'm going to be stitching up to ½ inches of whatever this is here. I'm going to be stitching it facing this part like this, and I'm going to make sure I double stitch. I'm going to be taking in ½ inch as I sew this in. So I just remembered something now. So I'm going to take another pattern from here to make it an opposite. I'm going to place it on fold. I'm going to be slanting it so that it meets up with the style. I'll just be slanting it by 1 inch. When you open it up, you'll be having 2 inches wide. But since you're already drafting on our fabric, you don't need to put exactly what you are using because you don't have any other time to add allowance to this. So I'll just mark out ½ inch.
After sewing it in, it will be equal to 1 inch. So I'll go ahead to slant this upwards like this. I'm going to cut it out. And I'll do the same thing for the lining.
For how high it went, it simply just went 2 inches upward and 0.5 inches inward. I'll just go ahead to fix the lacing. So here I am actually done with it, and yes, it looks small. By the time I extend it, it's going to be wide enough to fit into my buttons and still give firm grip to the dress. So now I'm going to take the other piece of it. I'm going to place it right side facing right side like this.
I'm going to sew it all around except for the top part. For the back part, I've gone ahead to iron my paper stay on the edges, and I have 2 pieces of it, one as the lining and one as the fabric. I'll go ahead to sew it all around except for the top part.
So yeah, I've actually gone ahead to sew the both of them. So I'm just going to cut this out.
Before you turn it up, you are just going to notch the edges like this. I'm going to be doing the same thing for the back piece. Please, while you are joining this, ensure you pin it up so you will not have a shortage of fabric.
So yeah, I have gone ahead to sew it all around, and I have as well ironed it for the both sides. Now I'm going to be sewing this. I want the stitch to be facing inward and not outward because I want the inner look to look like this. Now to sew this part, I'm going to pin it at the very tip here where it stops, and I'm going to use the sewing allowance I added while I was drafting. I have gone ahead to join it together, and I went ahead to iron the seam line open it. So I'm going to take the chiffon that came from this pattern.
I will sew a straight stitch at the shoulder and the underbust part of this chiffon pattern. I'm going to use it to make a gather stitch for the both sides.
And when you draw your gather, it should be long enough to be able to go all around this first pattern here.
So I've gone ahead to join it. While joining it, I ensure that it came out 0.5 at the top here and 0.5 at the other side here. I'm going to be showing you what we'll be doing with this 0.5.
Now this is what it looks like. This one is supposed to be behind it like this, so this is how it's supposed to look. I'm going to flip it like this, then I'm going to be sewing it like this, starting from this 0.5 point that I left. I'll pin it here, and I'll also pin it at the startup point here as well. So you are going to be having this other layer in between this one and the chiffon. So starting from the neckline, I'm going to sew straight to this point.
Starting from the neck, I'm going to sew it straight down, and I will sew it down to that 0.5 that I left. I'll be taking out everything of the 0.5 that I left. At that point, I'm going to lift the machine footer, spin the fabric, and I'm going to sew it like this, joining the lining on the underbust side. I'm going to stop exactly at 0.5 left mark, lift up the machine footer, spin the fabric, and I'm going to sew the side straight up to the armhole.
So I'll just flip it over like this.
The 0.5 we left at the neckline is gone. You can see that everything is straight up at this point and it blends into the neckline. Now you can see that the underbust part as well has been torn and the side corner has been torn, and the 0.5 we left at the edge there as well has gone, and everything is just straight up there.
So I'm going to be sewing the shoulder straight up like this, and I'm going to sew the armhole.
While you stitch the chiffon to the shoulder, please take note it's supposed to be staying firmly, as the style does not require the chiffon to be draping at the side. Ensure you spray the gather at the shoulders evenly. I've gone ahead to join the shoulder and the armhole. So if you intend to make this dress a fitted crop top, then you should fix an invisible zipper by the side, so you'll be having a very fitted crop top. Else these button straps will not hold, it will be gapping. So I will advise that you top stitch it, then the buttons there would be for fancy. So just check out how we are going to be finishing the back part, since the back center is not open. So I'll take two pieces, one as lining and one for the main fabric. I'll take the main fabric like this, and I'm going to be placing the chiffon first before I turn it over with the lining. Starting from the notched center, I'm going to be leaving 0.5 of the chiffon at the beginning and 0.5 of the chiffon at the edge. I'm going to sew it straight up.
So this is what it looks like at the right side. Now I'll take the lining for this part. I'm going to place it like this.
And I turned only the neckline. While turning the neckline, all I simply did was place my hemming gum on it and follow the stitch line straight up like that. So I'll go ahead to join the second side, and I will turn only the neckline like I did for this part as well. To turn the down side, you are going to take the center of this part like this. So you are going to give it a tiny cut out like this to stop at your 0.5 top stitch line. Then after you have cut it out like this, remember you gave 0.5 for the lining and for the chiffon. I'm going to flip that 0.5 to meet each other at that down part. Then you are going to sew the down part like this. Then you connect it to the side.
So here I have just turned it over. This is what it looks like. So now I'm going to repeat the same process for this one. After you have joined the neck, you are going to, because of the notch you gave it here, it will be quite easy for you to flip it over and turn it up like this. You join it together, follow this part up, and finish it using the 0.5 here.
So after ironing it, this is what the back look like, and I'm going to go straight ahead to join the shoulder together. I have not closed the shoulder of the back part because I'll be using the shoulder of the back part to turn up the shoulder of the front part. So next, I'm going to place my front piece on it like this. I'll take the lining of the back part. I'm going to cross it over the front piece like this, and I'm going to ensure that the front piece sits in between the lining and the chiffon, which is my main fabric. And I'll go ahead and sew it straight up like this.
When you join it up and you turn it over, this is what you'll be having at the wrong side. It has been neatly finished. I've joined the both shoulders.
Before closing the side, you can go ahead to
top stitch these two parts together before you fix your button as fancy. Then for the sides, now I'm going to take my measuring tape and I'm going to measure 1.5 inches as I added as my sewing allowance. I'll measure it upwards like this. And I'm going to do the same thing for the second side. Now, if you intend to fix a zipper to this, your zipper should follow your shaped outline and it should stop at 1 inches before the armhole. You can use an invisible zipper or an ordinary zipper, whichever works easily for you. There's a video on my channel on how to fix an invisible zipper. So here, when you are done shaping it, use your hand to tack it down at the sides like this. To fix my sleeve, I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to reconfirm my armhole measurement to see if it's less than so that I can reshape it. So you can see that it's actually equal to my armhole measurement that I've been using. So now I'll just go ahead to fix my sleeve. For my sleeve, I've gone ahead to fix my elastic and I used 1 inches less than my round sleeve measurement. So I'll just go ahead to notch the center of my sleeve like this, and I'll also notch the center of my armhole circumference, which is like some inches at the back part because the shoulder shifted to the front a bit. Now I'll take the sleeve, I'm going to pin it up at the notch center. I'll also pin it up at the down seam of the dress. I'm going to go ahead to sew it like this straight up to the center, and whatever excess I have at the center, I'm going to use it to make tiny pleats at the center, while I repeat the same process for the second side and for the second sleeve.
Now here is something I want to show you. The button straps would not hold as it will be gapping at the center like this, and it will be causing a revealing of the body, which is not too professional. So I'll advise you use the sewing technique I advised earlier of using an invisible zipper at the side and just fixing your buttons there as fancy. But just in case you would not want that, then this top should not be a too fitted or too tight top. What is the essence of subscribing to a channel? It is just to notify you, like you'll be the very first person to know when I upload something new. Thank you so much for watching. Do like the video. Bye.